All right, we are live with yet another instant reaction podcast here. The Patriots have made another selection, this time in the 5th round after trading down from 135. And so they take Atonio Mafi, a guard, again from UCLA. At a certain point, I don't know. What do we do? I mean, at a certain point, I don't know.
The Patriots saw James Ferentz play last year, and Bill Belichick said never again.
Right.
They saw that 3-game stretch against the Jets and the Colts when the offensive line got hurt and the backups were atrocious, and they said never again. Right now, if everybody makes the team, they could legit have 10 offensive linemen with a backup at every single spot.
Right.
And Mafi is very, very athletic. He was a defensive line convert. He's still a little bit raw because of that, but he has all the athletic traits. He's a really good scheme fit. Somebody they worked with at the Shrine Bowl, yet again, somebody they're familiar with here. And it's like, the other thing too, you're going to be happy if half of your day 3 picks hit. So this basically guarantees you're coming out of here with 1 or 2 offensive linemen that are good, because there's no way all 3 are going to be good. But 1 or 2 good ones is a good, they needed that. And you get some versatility out of it. So we said it in the last episode. I think they've made it clear they did not like the depth at pass catcher in this draft. And we haven't heard rumors about them trying to really trade up other than for that kicker since the end of day 1. I think we got to, past really past Keon White in some ways. And it kind of felt like, all right, we're just going to take best guy available, and we're just gonna screw positions. We're just gonna grab guys who we think have some talent here. Because there's no, they do not. A.T. Perry is still on the board. That's shocking to me. But
that's right, and that's the thing. You look at, look at even tight end Zach Kuntz is still there, and no one's taking him. So it's like there are guys that we liked. I like Bryce Ford Wheaton a lot. He's not getting picked anytime soon. So it's like. That's the type of stuff for me where it's like, yeah, we liked some of these guys, but realistically, I guess it wasn't meant to be. Now, again, do I love the fact that they're taking backup offensive linemen in the 4th and 5th round and that's all they're taking? Not really. But again, and you pointed this out, on the last show, and then also on the last show, number 1, but then also on Twitter, you reiterated it. You're trying to protect Mac Jones. Right. And injuries happen. That's what's going to happen, is that injuries happen. I would assume the Patriots want to re-sign Mike Onwenu, but maybe they don't think of him as one of the best guards in the league. And maybe he thinks of himself as one of the best guards in the league and wants to get paid that way. And they don't want to pay him that way. And if they can replace what he does. Now, look, Mafi is a monster, an absolute monster. Him and Sidy Sow are 2 guys that are monsters. They could theoretically replace Onwenu, and again, like you say, athletically, they're very good as well. Mafi's a guy who played the defensive line as well, so he has some of those explosion things that the defensive line has that the offensive line may not be looking for at the offensive line. And so I like that. Oh, and I believe now, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Jake Andrews, who we kind of poo-pooed a little bit, was a wrestler in high school and I think early in college. So we know the Stephen Neal connection there. Yeah. We know what they've done with wrestlers before. The hand control and the hand placement is so important, and the hand strength really from the wrestling. So you look at that and say, hey, there's guys, we like the flexibility. And like you say, now we don't have to worry about James Ferentz anymore. We don't have to worry about some garbage guy going in and trying to play one of the guard spots or the center spot, because we have those locked up. And if something happens, if Onwenu leaves, if Cole Strange gets hurt, if Onwenu gets hurt, if David Andrews gets hurt, we have guys that can step in and be at least okay. And that really, to me, that, it makes make sense. And again, do you have anyone that can do that? Is there anyone on the board at wide receiver that you think can really go in and push for a spot?
Well, and at this point, it's all kind of flat too. Like you're going to be able to get a receiver at the next pick who's probably about as good as the receivers you're going to get now, especially with it seems like they don't like these guys very much. So they can definitely get a guy who they don't like very much at any point from here on out. And I mean, we're on day 3 here. You're usually not getting a ton of starters here. If you can get a guy who can be a solid backup guard for 4 years, that's good value with the pick. That's very good value with the pick. So that I have no issue with. Also, new offensive line coach, and maybe they're getting some guys in that are a fit for what Adrian Clem likes at the position. That's another thing here, getting some guys that he can mold. We saw Jason Hines and Andrew Stuber. We didn't see them last year, and I think this tells you they're not thrilled with them, or at least they wanted to bring in more competition. So we'll see what happens. I doubt all 3 guys they picked today make the team, just because there's only so many roster spots.
Right.
But one of whoever misses, if they're good, will probably be on the practice squad, and it'll give you a lot of depth options. And I think the other thing too, we talked about it a little bit, but the team was really bad as a red zone offense last year and didn't have goal line personnel, couldn't run it down there. They just got big dudes you could put on the field who can help you push the ball in. You got some maulers today and in free agency, and it's like, all right, you shouldn't have that issue anymore. With Ramondre Stevenson, this offensive line, Adrian Clem is your coach. If you get down to the 1 or the 2 yard line, you should be able to punch it in a lot more consistently than you did last season.
Agreed. So some of the guys that are still on the board, Patriots now don't pick till the 6th round. I believe their next pick, they traded 185. Their next pick is 187, or they traded 184. I'm sorry. Their next pick is 187. So they have 187, 192, 210, and 214 all in the 6th round. And so, and then a 245, I think is the 7th round pick. Yeah. So some of the guys that are still on the board that I'm surprised, like JL Skinner, I'm shocked, from Boise State, still on the board. That's surprising me. Carl Brooks, the defensive lineman from Bowling Green, I'm surprised is still there. Andre Carter, the edge from Army, is still there. Go Navy, beat Army, I guess. Maybe that's, like he doesn't want to, I guess. Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M.
I don't know if Carter is a good fit for what they do.
No, I don't think so either. But, no. I'm just making a joke because Belichick obviously is a noted Navy guy.
Yes.
And then, Moro Ojomo from Texas, Corey Trice from Purdue, and Jalen Duncan's a guy that from Maryland that I like a lot. I think can be a project type tackle, which they haven't taken yet, right? They've taken guards, but not tackles. So that's something that I'm surprised. Those guys are all guys that I thought would be gone in the top 100 or so. And so now here we are at 150 and they're still on the board. Right. So, and of course, what the heck do I know? But
when it comes to the talent available, there's not a big difference between pick 140 and pick 240. So
right.
We'll these guys could all be gone by the time the next time you see us. They could be Patriots picks. They could be undrafted free agents. I'm sure one of the names we've mentioned will somehow not get drafted at all because
100%
that happens every year. So we'll see how things play out. I'm looking at Payne Durham as a tight end. I could see them liking at some point here. He's a guy who's nasty. He's a blocker. I think he was at the Senior Bowl, if I'm remembering correctly. So that seems like the type of guy they might like in the 6th round. I still think they take Michael Turk, the punter.
Yeah, I highlighted him. One of my mocks, I had them taking Noah Gindorf, who I liked as a late round guy, injured type player, but has the ability to do a little bit of everything. So he's an interesting look at wide receiver. Parker Washington's still there. Andre Iosifas is still there from Princeton. A.T. Perry, like you mentioned, is Butte from LSU. Demario Douglas, who, I know, I agree too, but he's still there. But Demario Douglas, a guy that they worked with at the Shrine Bowl, is still around. So and he's that 5'8" kind of quick twitch type of guy that maybe they would be interested in. So there are still players available that that I think can be good. There's the kid Puka, is it Nauka? Yeah, from BYU, who I think has some upside. Bryce Ford, who I mentioned, Ronnie Bell is still on the board.
Ronnie Bell I like a lot for New England. I think he makes a ton of sense, and I think they met with him. I just want to mention two things real quick that just popped up in my Twitter feed. One, we got a quote from the new kicker, Chad Ryland. This is courtesy of Alex Barth. Ryland on kicking in cold or inclement conditions. Quote, I don't think a lot of people want to kick in that. I do. I'm a cold weather guy. I love it. That's why Bill drafted him right there.
Let's go.
And then
Love to hear
just
that.
in other draft news, you see the Packers just picked Mr. Sean, the big red quarterback himself, Mr. Sean Clifford from Penn State.
What?
Interesting.
Jiminy Christmas.
I don't like Sean Clifford at all. I don't think this means anything for the Packers. I think he's a backup at best. But
yeah. Interesting.
Anytime they draft a quarterback, it's always going to get some eyeballs now.
Right. I mean, they need a backup, obviously, because they only have Love on the roster, I think, unless they have a third string somewhere.
You don't know who their backup quarterback is?
Oh, is it wait. We've talked about this already. My guy. It's my guy from Florida, the Gator legend. He of the 91-yard touchdown run against the Giants. Come on, dude. Come on. It's my guy, dude. So you're right. That's my apologies.
While we're talking about running quarterbacks, do you want to know one of my favorite pieces of draft trivia ever that also involves the Patriots?
Let's hear it.
Do you know which quarterback the Patriots drafted in the 80s that they drafted intending to convert to running back?
Which quarterback they drafted in the 80s intending to convert to running back?
Yeah.
Rich Gannon?
Yep. That is the wildest piece, especially for me as a kid. My only exposure ever to Rich Gannon is the old quarterback in the Snow Bowl game.
Yeah.
And knowing the Patriots drafted him in the 80s, trying to convert him to running back and then traded him because he wouldn't do it is the weirdest, especially with the history the Patriots have at the quarterback position, like pre-Drew Bledsoe. It's like,
that's not an idea.
They could have used Rich Gannon as a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, they had Kenny Stabler for a little while too. That didn't work out. God. It's just, my favorite draft trivia of all time. I think my favorite draft story ever. There's a million draft stories that are really good. My favorite one ever, though, is when Mike Ditka was absolutely losing his mind and offering to trade his entire draft to move up in the draft to take Ricky Williams. And maybe, I don't know who else they were going to take, but the Bengals were at number 3 overall. And the Saints were trying to move up to number 3. And they offered the Saints, I think, a total of 7 picks, like 3 first-round picks, 2 or 3 second-round picks, and like 3 third-round picks to move up to number 3. And the Bengals said, no, thank you. We won't move back to like 7 or 9 or whatever and take all of those picks. Instead, we're going to stay at 3 and take Akili Smith, who has one of the single worst. And when I tell you, by the way, the Bills just took another wide receiver, Justin Shorter from Florida, who is not shorter, 6'4", interestingly enough. But when I tell you that Akili Smith has some of the worst stats you will ever, he might have worst stats in NFL history. His stats in the NFL, 17 starts, 3-14 as a starter, 215 for 461, which with a 46% completion percentage, 2,212 yards, 5 TDs, and 13 interceptions. Just
not good.
Unbelievably bad. Unbelievably. He did have a game-winning drive as a rookie, but just absolutely unbelievably bad. And the Saints could have had a billion first-round picks for him, and they decided, no, we're going to stay and take him. So just amazing. Crazy. So, anyways, all right, we're officially off the deep end here. So that's it. So just to recap here,
they got 5 more picks for the year.
They have a lot more picks. I can't imagine, and I keep saying this, but they started the day with 9 picks. They moved up, so they had 8 picks, and they moved back, so they had 9 picks again. I can't imagine they have 9 picks, right? And I tweeted out about maybe they're planning to package all 4 of those 6 rounders and send them to Denver for Jerry Jeudy. I don't know, but you just you have to think something else is coming. I mean, you can't take all these picks. You just can't. You physically don't have the depth for all these guys.
Yeah, the rumor is I forget who said this. I think it was a Sports Illustrated guy who wrote it this morning. that is Albert Breer Sports Illustrated. It might have been him.
Yeah, it might be Breer, yeah.
I think it was Breer, yeah, who said that teams are very hesitant to give up picks next year for this year's draft, which could be a reason why we haven't seen them trade out at all.
Yeah,
could be
the
why
Eagles did it, which is interesting.
But if teams aren't willing to trade next year's picks into this year's draft, that tells you that nobody really loves guys in this year's draft, which I think matches a ton of what we have seen with who the Patriots picked.
Yeah,
it's a whole lot of just solid picks and
right.
Nothing crazy.
Yep. No, Keely Ringo was the pick that they traded. They traded their 3rd round pick next year to move up to 105 and take Keely Ringo. So,
it's wild.
But that's the first one I've seen. I mean, obviously,
I think there might have been one other
Houston
one.
Did it. Houston did it where they moved up, but
different.
That's different. You're going to get Will Anderson. It's different than that. So, but yeah, I think there might be one other one. But you're right. Teams are hesitant to do that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyways, that's where we're at right now. Look, just be happy that we're getting depth. I understand that you want the weapons. I get it. I get it. Okay. But and Taylor Kyles tweeted something out which I thought was like perfect. Right. And he said, and I'm going to paraphrase him because I'm not going to spend the time. Well, maybe I'll just look it up because, but
I have the quote in front of me if you want it.
I got it. I got it here. Right here it is. Right.
Okay.
Here. He said the Pats have 2 pocket passing QBs, a 30-year-old center, a guard set to hit the open market next offseason, and their only reliable backup interior offensive lineman is a 33-year-old and was a liability when Anderson went down. But yeah, other than that, no idea why New England went so heavy on interior linemen. Like, this was expected. I had them taking at least one interior offensive lineman in all of my mock drafts because they had to do this. And so
they just do it in general. Like they do it anyway on day 3, even if it isn't a need.
Yep, exactly. So we'll see. I know we're not happy with it. I know it's not sexy, but like
I'm happy with it.
Well, I mean, we're happy with it, but I know Patriot Nation in general isn't happy with it. And, but this is how you build a team. You build a team through having depth. And I think that that's what they're doing. And so, and again,
you want to have especially with the expansion of the practice squad, you're almost trying to have like the best 65 guys you can have.
Right. It's true. And the other part of it too is that when you look at it and say, all right, I get it, but can you really build that depth with other players? Are there other players at other positions that can help you with the depth that you need in these spots, right? Yeah. We talked about wide receiver already ad nauseum. Everyone keeps mentioning, which is true. Trey Nixon, still there, baby. He's still there. He's the missing link. Maybe Trey Nixon takes a step up this year, and he's that depth guy that you want, right? Maybe they're comfortable with the depth that they have at wide receiver, and it sounds dumb to say, but like they've seen what they have with Trey Nixon. They've seen what they have with other guys. Maybe they're looking at this draft saying, well, the upside for this guy might be a little bit higher than that, but like this guy's never going to push for any playing time this year. So like, why are we drafting him over a bigger need? And again, whatever the draft experts think the Patriots needs are not what the Patriots think the Patriots needs are. The Patriots have different needs than what people think.
And also, like, their need at receiver isn't a depth receiver, really. Like, they need bodies. But if you want this offense to take it to the next level, it's a wide receiver 1. You're not getting they didn't pass up on a wide receiver 1 to take a guard in the 6th round. That's not what just happened. But what they can do with the way this draft is, hey, let's say you get a couple starters with Christian Gonzalez and Keon White and Marty Mapu. That saves you money. And you know what that means? And you get starters on cheap contracts. That means you can trade one of your picks next year and go get a high-priced receiver if you want, if one becomes available. I think being able to have a ton of depth on rookie deals means you can be super flexible with your roster, which means if a receiver says, I want out, or a tight end says, I want out, you can jump on it. You have the contractual and draft flexibility to make a move like that if it's a guy you like. And again, I mean, Jerry Jeudy may still be on the market here, and if they like this draft, maybe they make a move after, and they make a move with one of next year's picks for that. I think that's totally possible. But they gave up a third plus a 5th back for Devontae Parker last year. Like, they'll make moves for receivers, and I don't think their offensive skill groups are bad. I don't think they're that good, but I don't think they're bad either. I think they are a solid like B minus across the board with offensive skill talent right now. And that alone is
Yeah.
not going to win you a lot of games, but their special teams is better now than it was a week ago. Our offensive line is better now than it was a week ago or a year ago. Defense should be better. You win in all three
Right.
phases.
Well,
And
and
they're
that's the
better in
thing.
all
And
three phases, in my opinion.
right. And that's the argument, right? If you want to make the argument that which Adam Jones tried to do, if you want to make the argument that you don't like the Christian Gonzalez pick, and instead of taking Christian Gonzalez, they should have taken Zay Flowers or JSN or whomever it is that you thought was the number one wide receiver on the board. That's fine. That's fine if you want to make that argument. Right. And I don't have a problem with that because that's what this offense really, truly needed.
Mm-hmm.
However, we saw over and over and over and over and over again, this offense, this team also needs a true cornerback one, a true lockdown corner. You also need that because you're playing against elite wide receivers in this division and in this conference and in this league. And without a true lockdown corner, you're not going to be able to compete against those teams. You're just not.
No.
And so, and so then you can make the argument like, I like Gonzalez over Zay Flowers, but I'm convinced they traded back to 17 because they knew who Pittsburgh was going to take and they knew who Washington was going to take. And they said, okay, here's the Jets at 15. If the Jets either take Gonzalez or trade out and someone else takes Gonzalez, then we have Zay Flowers or JSN, right? Or if they, but Gonzalez is number one on the board. He's who we're going to take at 14. But we're okay with it because we understand we need a number one corner. We also need a number one wide receiver. We can get either of those at 17, right? Because we know only one pick is being made that we don't know at 15, right?
Yep.
So you trade back and then you say, all right, either we get a CB one or we get a wide receiver one, and we ended up with a cornerback one, right? And so it just is what it is.
And let's not forget, the last time we saw this team take the field, they were reasonably competitive in 2 out of the 3 phases with the Buffalo Bills on the road, with a playoff spot on the line, with awful coaching. Their special teams are better. I don't think we're going to see them make the same kinds of mistakes next year.
Absolutely.
And if you don't give up 2 kick return touchdowns in that game, and you got a corner in Christian Gonzalez, you might be able to take away that Stephon Diggs touchdown. Yeah, you win with the 21 points.
Right. 100%. 100%. So anyways,
that was with bad offensive coaches too. Add in, good offensive coaches and an offensive line that'll protect, and I feel a lot better.
It's a great point. All right, we're getting down the rabbit hole. Should have been an instant reaction to Atonio Mafi, and here we are. Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Matt. Of course.
They also, one of the picks in that was to Nelson Aguilar, who's no longer on the team. So if you believe in addition by subtraction, I think the Patriots offense is a ton better than it was last season.
I agree. Yeah. Yes. So, all right, that's it. So Atonio Mafi at 144. The Patriots are back on the board at 187. And so assuming they don't pick before then, and assuming they make a pick at 187, we'll be back with you at that point. But thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.